I'm Jordan Belfort, and this is Sales School. All right, so if you're a business owner, do not let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud-based business system. NetSuite gives you the visibility and control over your financials, inventory, and more. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/school.
What happens typically with standards, right? Standards, it's a malleable thing. Your standards are not a constant throughout your whole life. We have times where our standards are very high, and we have sometimes where our standards are on the lower side. They're just like, we are peaking, we're like in that flow, we're doing great, our standards are high. And then we have other times throughout, even talking over years, meaning where you're just not burning as bright in your own life. You don't feel as directed. You just don't, really feel like you're firing at all cylinders. And what happens is this, and here's the interesting part, is that your standards, believe it or not, are they're almost a result. Your standards are a result of other things that have happened to you in your life. And then what happens is your brain, to avoid feeling pain and to maximize feeling pleasure. And I've never ever had this thought like it just occurred to me this second as I was saying it. Like, I was trying to think of a way, I had a thought I was trying to get out to. So this is really something I've never really said before to anybody, but it just occurred to me in this moment. What happens is that your standard, right, is like your thermostat. It's your set point of like what you will accept in your life. Like, well, I will not settle for less than X. So like say my standard for making money. My standard is I want to make $10 million a year. That's a very reasonable, rational standard for me, meaning I want to have that much money, and that doesn't mean I've always made that much money. At times I've made a lot more, and times I've made less. The point is when I'm making less than $10 million a year, I'm not living the life day to day that I feel I deserve and want, and that makes me feel great inside. In other words, it's just like there's things I can't have access to. I'd like to be able to take private jets everywhere. I'd like to do this or do that, whatever it might be, contribute to charities in a certain way, whatever it might be, like my must. Like if I get to $10 million in my head, both logically when I think it through and emotionally, just how I feel when I wake up in the morning, like that's a good solid, there's nothing I can't do with that amount of money. That's my standard for me, right? But what gave me that standard? Why is that? Like, what caused that to be $10 million, right? And what would cause it to drop down to, let's say, $1 million, and what would cause it to go up to 100 million? Like, what would cause those things to change? And here's what you need to realize here. This is important. This is the crux of it all, is that your standard is a function of what your brain thinks is possible, and then affected by what's actually happened in the past. Meaning let's say I think I'm worthy of $10 million. Like, I have talent, I have special skills, I have a history of making money, I know the rules of success. In my own mind, logically speaking, I can't think of one fucking reason why I shouldn't make $10 million a year. Combined with the fact, right, that I've had times when I made a lot more than $10 million, and then at times when I've had problems when I was making almost zero, right? But here's what happened. I never let the pain of dropping below my standard. So let's say in those years when I was in jail, right? Or when I was just having bad years in business, I just couldn't find my sweet spot. And let's say I was making $500,000 or $1 million, right? What happens to most people is that when your actual real results drop below what you believe you're capable of, what do you feel? You feel dissonance, you feel pain, you feel a lack. I say, wait, I'm worthy of this, I should be here, but I'm here. And that then gives you the internal motivation to close the gap to what you believe your reality should be. You understand that? In other words, that's what's really going on with it. So the standard says, logically, logically I said, fuck, I should be one of the richest people around. I know it's how I feel. It's what I believe. It's my belief systems. So now we start talking about beliefs, a separate distinction of the inner game, but the beliefs start indicating it's like a function of what I believe is true, what I logically think should be, versus what actual results I'm getting over time. Because what happens is there's only so much pain any person's brain can take before you start saying, you know what? Maybe I ought to lower my standard. You see, if you're not getting your result that you think you're capable of, you feel dissonance, you feel pain, and that pain motivates you to work harder, to change your approach, to keep going, to make sure you hit that number. So that's why I say your standard acts as almost your insurance policy to make sure that you get what you want in life. Because you feel bad, you feel uncomfortable because you're below your standard. But what happens if that continues for too long? What happens if your results don't match your standard year in and year out and year? That's when we see people who talk about, I remember once when I thought I could take over the world. And I thought my life would be this way. I thought I'd be rich when I was 21 years old. When I was in high school, I had all these hopes and dreams, and now I'm 32, 33. In life, the reality of life has hit me, and I feel good. Now I feel pretty good, making $200,000 a year, $100,000 a year. I have someone I love, maybe my kids are healthy, and I'm okay. And life is okay. But are you really burning bright? So we convince ourselves to stop the pain, to stop the discomfort of not hitting your standard. Eventually your brain will lower your standard so you feel good again. See, either you're gonna hit your standard and you'll feel good, or eventually if you can't hit your standard, you'll drop your standard because you're sick and tired of the pain of not meeting your standard. So you reduce your standard and say, you know what, I'm still okay. It's good. I'm good. My life is good. And I'm not here to tell you that your life is not good. What I'm here to tell you is that there's two ways that could happen. Maybe, by the way, this was fucking reality for you. You see, you might have been delusional. You could have been one of those people, I'm going to be richer when I grow up, all this sort of stuff, but you didn't do the work. You didn't have the right tools to ever get it, so it was all a fucking pipe dream all along. So you had high standards, right? But they had to get lowered because you never had a chance to meet those. Those were unrealistic standards. So what happens, you settle into this point of homeostasis, if you want to call it, where at a certain point, if you want to live a happy life, it all's got to match up. Your standards, your reality, your beliefs. If it's not, what are you? Fucking miserable. That's why there's so many miserable people in this world. They feel frustrated. They're not getting ahead. They put the effort in. They just don't get the result they want. They lower their standard. They get this vicious cycle. And before you know it, they're living a sort of empowered life, but at a far lower level that when they were really burning bright, when they were in those first years, 18, 19, 20 years old, at that point in life, they really thought they were capable of anything. That was their real standard. But because they didn't possess the actual skill sets to make that a reality, they had to eventually lower their standard because they spent 7 years of chasing after their own tail, not being able to hit the standard and say, fuck it, this is crazy. What was I thinking? That's not a real, I don't need that much to be happy. And while that's true, it's not like you need money to be happy. There is so much fun that you can have when you're rich. You can help other people. Money's a wonderful, beautiful thing. But that's what happens. And that's why people lower their standards. And that's why you see all these people, what happens? And they end up approaching the end of their life and they have to make sense of it all. And when they're on their deathbed, they say, I wish I would have spent more time with my family. It's the old joke. They never say, I wish I would have worked more. I would have spent more. But to me, that's a load of shit. Because it's not about working more or spending with the family. It's about enjoying who you are and being great, excelling to your potential. That's where, to me, is living a happy, fulfilled life. It's almost like a bit of a cop-out. At the end, yes, the brain dying can make sense of it all. When you're on your deathbed, I should have spent more time. No, maybe, you know what? You should have educated yourself and gotten strong and learned what you need to learn at the younger ages so you could have had the whole thing. You could have had your quad, like from Jerry Maguire. You could have had the money, the connection, the love, the passion, the whole 9 yards. You could have had the whole fucking thing. But because you didn't educate yourself, because you didn't have the real tools to success that you needed, you had to slowly ratchet down and ratchet down and ratchet down until you reach some level of I'm okay. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be okay. So wherever you are right now, if you're feeling dissonance right now, if you're saying, you know what, my standards are too low, what's really happening is I've woken something up inside. You're saying, shit, you know, this fucking guy, he speaks to me every single day. He's teaching me shit I never knew. My closing rate's going up. I'm learning the tools of entrepreneurship. I could do better. Why haven't I? Because before this, how long you know me for? For the 3 months, 5 months, right? Before that, you settled down to a lower level. So what you need now is fucking shock therapy. I'm here to tell you that yes, you can raise your standards, and you should. Every last one of you should. Because let me tell you something. The beauty of life, when you're really clicking, when you're in all your fucking cylinders charging, you're just doing the best of everything. The money, the love, the relationships, the spirituality, it's all clicking. And every day is just fucking yes. That doesn't mean there's not pain throughout the day. It doesn't mean there's not worry. But you're not settling to live life on anything but its absolute best terms for you. Don't let your past failures, the things you didn't know before this, redefine you now for the last 30, 50 years of your life. You can change in a fucking heartbeat. You can raise your standards, and you can get back that lost passion you had before all this started. When you felt unstoppable and invincible and you knew you could conquer the world, you can, my friend. You all can. But now you have the real tools to do it, and you're getting more of them every single day. And this is one, just understanding that where you are right now, in this instant in your life, is a reflection, a sum total reflection of all your past experience, the insults, the injuries, the successes, the victories, the failures, the people that hurt you, the people that loved you. It all wraps up. And in this instant, you're somewhere on this continuum. And that's your starting point today. And from there, now we go about consciously raising our standards and recapturing that passion, that intensity, all the shit that we knew we were capable of when we were young. Do that using the real world skills I teach you, you're fucking unstoppable.
All right, I know everyone's talking about CBD these days, but there's really only one brand you need to know about, and that is Lord Jones. See, if you know me, then you know that I won't even touch something unless it's the absolute top product of its kind. Fast cars, big houses, a boat. It's not the best. I don't want it anywhere near me. That's why whenever I want CBD, I go to Lord Jones. Lord Jones is the gold standard. Let me hear it. The gold standard of CBD. And you know that means a lot when it comes from me. For years, Lord Jones has been changing people's lives with their premium CBD products, from world-class skincare to tinctures and gel capsules to decadent gumdrop confections. If you're curious about what CBD can do for you, trust me, you want to start with the absolute best. Lord Jones is crafted with the highest quality ingredients and premium hemp-derived CBD that's lab-tested for purity, strength, and consistency. In fact, Lord Jones has been featured in the New York Times, People, Vogue, Vanity Fair, and more. And now they're inviting you to experience the finest CBD products available. And I'm telling you, you're going to love it. So here's how you get started. Go to lordjones.com/school to get 25% off your first order. That's lordjones.com/school for 25% off your first order. lordjones.com/school.